ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive. Brought to you by Huntington Federal Savings Bank. Local then, local now. Member FDIC.
Tomorrow, big day. Marshall taking on East Carolina. This will be a good one. I think Marshall will win this one. This will also be a nice little, hey, look, we're 2-0 against American competition this year, beating Navy, and then if you beat East Carolina, you will have that victory. And then you get an opportunity to beat a good Sun Belt team in Appalachian State. Looking ahead, though, that is next Thursday. By the way, we're going to be at Roosters on that Thursday, so looking forward to being out and about with you as we get you set for Roosters watch party. You always can go to Roosters and catch the game, and of course, if you can't hit Roosters, you can catch it on ESPN proper, I believe. I'm looking forward to a lot. We've got a lot to get into. Yesterday, I definitely took advantage of that ESPN Plus subscription. As I was watching, I was going back and forth. There's really not an easy way to do that on the streaming app, but I was going back and forth. I was watching the Marshall women's soccer match with Western Kentucky, and for the most part, I thought, okay, Marshall's going to win this. Western Kentucky is a very tenacious team, comes back, ties it, makes it level, to use the proper soccer terms, makes it level. I mean, Marshall at one point had a clean sheet, then it became level, and then it had to go to overtime. And Western Kentucky got the golden goal. Again, I've been paying attention. I've been listening to my guy Jake Griffith, who does all the Marshall video streams. I pay attention to all of his proper terms and descriptions, and it was a good game, but unfortunately Marshall fell to Western Kentucky in overtime last night. Still, I think there's a lot to build off there. I think the soccer program on the women's side, they will get it going. Then I flipped over, and again, I was trying to go back and forth here. At one point, the herd was down. I'm like, okay, I'm going to turn that off. I'm not going to jinx Ari Agnes. And they came back, and so I flipped over again, and the volleyball team beat Morehead State yesterday, so it was 3-2. It was a pretty good match, and so they were in action today against fourth-ranked Pittsburgh. This is part of the Morehead State Invitational. They lost that in 3 sets. Volleyball is going to be back in action tomorrow, taking on the Toledo Rockets. That will be a Saturday match. Again, that's going to be part of the Morehead Invitational. So I was 1-1 yesterday. We're 0-1 today with volleyball. Tough outing for Ari Agnes and her squad. Now tonight, coming up, Hoops Family Field, 7 o'clock. It's going to be crazy attendance-wise. I'm going to opt for the streaming portion of the it's going to be nuts down there. Press box is it's not going to accommodate everybody. The stands are going to be full. There's going to be standing room only areas. There's going to be temporary seating that's going to be there for the entirety of the season, as Chris Grassi is probably making a good case for, hey, let's do this right and let's increase capacity here. Let's find a way to make some upgrades to the facility. It's not that old of a facility, but already you have seen Huntington has discovered soccer. Huntington has found out that there is a soccer team in Huntington. That's pretty good. And, of course, tonight you've got West Virginia, one of the best teams in college soccer. So you've got 2 of the best teams in college, both residing in the Mountain State. That's going to happen tonight. It should be a fun match. And I know that the Herd fans are hyped. I'm sure West Virginia soccer fans are going to be hyped. And then, of course, you've got the Marshall-West Virginia thing, period, going back and forth. So this will be a bragging rights game. If Marshall wins, Thundering Herd will have bragging rights over West Virginia. If West Virginia wins, they're not going to say a thing because this isn't a rivalry to WVU fans, right? I don't expect to hear anything from WVU fans because it's not a rivalry. Of course I'm going to hear. Most of them are muted on my social media feed, so I'm not going to hear it, but they're going to say stuff. I'm not going to hear it. And I'm not even involved in all this trolling going on between Herd fans and Mountaineer fans. I mean, the fan bases are going back and forth with each other. It's going to be it's fun. It's really fun at the end of the day. So I won't see any of it whatsoever. So I will be blissfully ignoring it. And already I don't see that stuff in my feed. I'm just going to watch the match, and we've got high school action tonight as well. I'm going to be keeping an eye on between Huntington High and George Washington, the Highlanders, the number 2 team in the state of West Virginia. And so we're going to hear about that a little bit later on. We're also going to get your text in once again, 304-523-2275. So are you going tonight down to the soccer field, and are you going to catch the Herd? Are you looking forward to seeing this matchup? Are you excited that you've got 2 of the best teams in the state of soccer, in the state of West Virginia? Whatever happens, it's going to be a good match, and still you're going to have 2 teams that are more than likely going to get into the tournament and could make good runs. Chris Grassi was with us yesterday, and he kind of felt good about where his team is at now, and I think they understand that as the defending national champion, you're going to get every opponent's best shot, and so you got to come ready, and I think he feels a little bit better about where his team is right now. And for him, it's a friendly rivalry to a degree because, the coach of West Virginia, a good friend of his. And so the 2 coaches want to see this happen, and they're going to with conference play, and that means there's going to be more attention on soccer in the state of West Virginia, and that means you're going to have a lot of kids maybe growing up, younger kids, seeing good soccer being played at West Virginia and Marshall growing up. And so there are going to be a lot of young kids that are going to grow up, want to be Mountaineers playing soccer, or they're going to play for the Thundering Herd, and they know that they have opportunities in state. So if you're a kid in the Mountain State, I mean, maybe you're an Eastern Panhandle kid, or maybe you're in the Kanawha Valley, maybe you're in the coal fields, and you're really good at soccer, and you're good enough to be a Division I player, and Marshall or West Virginia is an option for you, and you're good enough to make those teams, now that could happen for you. And I think that's what you're wanting to see happen as far as these 2 programs are concerned. You want to see, just like football, kids grow up in the Mountain State, they want to be Mountaineers, or they want to play for the Thundering Herd, depending on where they're located at. And Marshall's got to keep its end of the deal and start winning football games and playing for championships. The Mountaineers are playing in a reconstituted Big 12, and so I'm sure the Mountaineers want to turn that program around to the point where either dominating the Big 12 or making the program more attractive to get the heck out of the Big 12 and eventually maybe end up in, I guess the ACC is probably the best destination as far as when we look at it. So there's a lot going on tonight, and I tell you what, it's fun. It's fun to see it, and a lot of it is because you see these young kids who are soccer fans and maybe didn't have an opportunity before because the programs maybe weren't really that good, especially Marshall. It's taken a while to build Marshall, and you get a new facility, and all of a sudden you get a new coach that dramatically turned it around even, in just a short time. So the point now that we're talking about this is a big deal. We're talking about this match. And that's happening tonight, 7 o'clock. So it should be fun. Have fun on social media. Don't be sore winners. Do not be sore losers. Do not. Herd fans, if you win, enjoy it. Herd fans, if you lose, do not be sore losers. Same thing with Mountaineer fans. If you win, enjoy it. Smile, because I know Herd fans probably get under your skin. Same thing for Herd fans and West Virginia fans. I'm sure Mountaineer fans get under Herd fans' skin. But whatever happens, have fun with this tonight. Do not do anything that is over the line. But if you talked a lot of trash and you're on the losing side, It's just expect it. Just expect it tonight. It's coming. If you wrote checks, you're going to have to cash some of those now. If you wrote checks that you could not cash, that's coming due. That is coming due. Both sides. I'm just telling you that right now. It is just one match. But if you put everything into this one match and you start writing those checks with your mouth that you cannot cash, if they come due, it's on you. With all that said, when we continue, we'll get your text in. The phone number, once again, to be a part of the program, and this is text only this hour. It's 304-523-2275, 304-523-2275. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about potential expansion and the AAC. Again, Marshall not really mentioned in that article from CBS Sports. What does that mean for Marshall in the grand scheme of things? We'll talk about it, get your thoughts as well. We'll do that when we continue with today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Brought to you by Huntington Federal Savings Bank, the local bank that's here for every step of your life's journey. Member FDIC.
Our phone line, when it does work, is brought to you by White Claw at 877-420-TALK, 877-420-8255. White Claw hard seltzer made pure. However, the phone line does not work. So instead, you will join me through text this hour. 304-523-2275, 304-523-2275 to text the program this hour. Coming up tonight, it's going to be a big one at Hoops Family Field. Marshall versus West Virginia, two of the top teams in college soccer go at it. And then tomorrow, Marshall taking on ECU. This is a big match because, one, there's a lot of history between Marshall and ECU. And that's more for the fans. Earlier this week, Coach Huff talked about that and said that the best way to really honor what that is about is to go out and play well. So he's not basically putting up posters maybe he is, but he's not putting up posters in the shoey. He's not overemphasizing all of that. It's stay consistent, and they know the history, and he was actually pretty complimentary of, hey, look, the kids here know the history better here than they do at most places. So that's coming up. And in the middle of all of that, this is a good opportunity for Marshall to play a team out of the American. If Marshall wins this, it doesn't mean, okay, Marshall's going to the American. But at the same time, there is talk that the American is looking westward. And will Marshall be in that conversation, or is it going to be more of, okay, you won out of Conference USA? Is the Sun Belt asking? Is that conversation happening? Is the Sun Belt reaching out? Because I'm going to be quite honest with you, I don't think Conference USA is doing a darn thing. I don't think Conference USA is reaching out to anyone. All Conference USA is going to do is brace for impact. Now, if Marshall wants the heck out of this league and the AAC is looking westward to raid the Mountain West is going to have to backfill a little bit. And so here's some dominoes that could fall. I don't know if Conference USA is going to be all the worse for this, or if Conference USA is going to get overlooked this round, and maybe the Sun Belt and the Mountain West are going to be the bigger targets here. Would the Mountain West raid the Sun Belt? Would the Sun Belt try to raid the Mountain West? Or would the Sun Belt take a different approach and go, okay, UAB is going to the American. Where can we cherry pick out of Conference USA that adds a little value here? And you're not going to see these leagues reformulate based on geography. This is not going to happen. So if you're the Mountain West, you're looking at this right now and you're thinking, okay, should, as an entity, as an organization, should the Mountain West maybe start looking to raid? Would the Mountain West say, look, instead of you trying to get some of our teams in, let's bring a couple of you from the American in? I mean, think about that for a second. Would the Mountain West maybe see an opportunity to raid a little bit? Because if the Mountain West gets raided, where are the replacements coming from? I don't know if Boise goes to the American. And if Boise doesn't go, if you're a team in the Mountain West, would you say, look, I mean, Boise's staying here. I think Boise makes more sense for the Mountain West than it does the American, to be honest, geography included. However, I don't think that geography is going to be anything in this. Because if you're the Mountain West, you've got Air Force, and Air Force is a target. You've got Boise. Boise is a target. And those are good teams out of the Mountain West that you're trying to grab. So you also have Colorado State and San Diego State, and that would be smart gets for the Mountain West. But if you're the Mountain West, you look at this. You got UNLV. I mean, UNLV, I still think of them as a basketball school, even though, maybe I'm living back in a different age here. I'm going back to my college days here. But if you're the Mountain West, where do you go? What teams do you take out of Conference USA? I mean, is that where you start? Because UTSA, if you're the Mountain West and you lose a team, there's UTSA right there. You're thinking, okay, UTSA could be a potential target. Is North Texas a potential target? I mean, is there a team in the Sun Belt that would make sense for a Mountain West? And we got to look at this. Let's go to the text line. Texter writes, is joining the AAC even a move upward? With Cincinnati and Houston leaving, is it really much of a stronger conference than Conference USA? I suppose if UAB and UTSA are picked out of Conference USA, maybe it is. But with the CBS article not mentioning Marshall, is the Sun Belt a better conference competition-wise? Okay. Here's what my thoughts are on that. And Texter asked my thoughts. I think that the AAC, even without Cincinnati and Houston and Central Florida, I think the AAC is better than Conference USA. I think Conference USA is an interesting entity because years ago, Conference USA was the best of the rest. At one point, it was the best of the rest. And then a lot of those teams that made Conference USA what it was moved to the American. You had Cincinnati's been moving on. Remember, at one point, Louisville was in this thing. And so those teams have moved up, moved on. And Conference USA went for television markets, looking for television markets, trying to increase the footprint of Conference USA that way instead of looking for teams that would add value to Conference USA. And that seemed to backfire. Now, Western Kentucky has been a good opponent for Marshall and vice versa. The rivalry has been fantastic. I love it. Middle Tennessee, I enjoy that rivalry. The Florida schools have grown on me. Charlotte, they bring potential. Charlotte brings potential. Old Dominion brings potential. And Charlotte football maybe at one point will be that program. Old Dominion maybe at one point will be that program. And I think the geography has hurt this league as well. The conference has so far flung. I mean, should Marshall and any other East team be going out west that far on a regular basis? I don't think so. I would like to see Conference USA split, to be honest. Form an Eastern League and a Western League. I don't know how you do that. do that. I don't know if you can raid other conferences, or does an Eastern Conference USA reformulated go after Liberty? Liberty wanted in. Liberty wanted in, was going to spend money, and the league at the time was like, no, we don't want that. I mean, Liberty's going to eventually elevate itself, and it's got the money to do it. So do you do that? Do you bring in a Liberty? And if you're Conference USA, you better have a good plan now, because it looks like Conference USA is going to be the loser in all of this. The Mountain West has got to be proactive. It just has to be. It's got to either be aggressive and find teams that are going to add value and try to prevent it from being picked over, because for the most part, the Mountain West has stayed relatively strong and relevant because it hasn't been picked over. Now, that's a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is it's allowed the conference to develop and grow. And kind of the bad thing is here that it hasn't really been picked over for a team or two, so maybe that's a prestige thing. But at the end of the day, if you're the Mountain West, where do you look? Do you look at Rice? Is Rice a Mountain West team? Do you look at UTEP? Do you look at UTSA? Do you look at North Texas? Do you look at Louisiana Tech? Do you look at those schools and say, yeah, those are Mountain West teams? I think you take a UTSA. If you're the Mountain West, you lose a team, okay, we'll grab UTSA. I think UTSA would happily go. And I think that would be a good fit for the Mountain West. Then you got North Texas. Facilities are good. It's a growing program. You take North Texas in the Mountain West. You do that. And if you lose 3 teams, I don't know where you go. Where do you grab a 3rd team from? So the Mountain West has got to be proactive, because the Mountain West has got to basically retain as much of its membership as possible and add teams that give value to the Mountain West. And so could their membership, though, just decide to stay together and say, look, if we stay together in this thing, we could, from a league point of view, we could sit here and weather this storm, and we would come out on top, be the best group of 5 conference out there. We could be and battle with the Sun Belt. Because if you're the Mountain West, do you look at the American and go, okay, maybe we can offer Tulsa? You look at Tulsa and say, hey, look, we're going to put you in a footprint that's a little bit better for you, and we got a pretty good league here already. And instead of a few teams coming from the Mountain West to bolster your league, maybe you say, look, Tulsa, come on over. You steal Tulsa. And if you're Memphis has got a situation, because Memphis could be a future Big 12 team. It could be the next round of the Big 12, because I don't think the Big 12's done. And there's conversations that the Big 12's eyeing Memphis and Boise. So not this round, but maybe the next round. So Memphis has got an interesting situation here. Does Memphis stick around, wait for that phone call, or does Memphis try to make different moves? But if you're the Mountain West, you're thinking, okay, maybe Tulsa. Take Tulsa. If you're the Mountain West, maybe you go after, I don't know if you go after SMU or not. Do you go after SMU and Tulsa maybe? Just, attack the American and go, okay, you're going to pick us over? No, we're going to pick you over. And then there has been some discussion to maybe the American grab West teams, and if the Mountain West can hold that off, grab a couple of teams and bolster the league, maybe either by raiding the American, maybe you go after a North Texas, maybe you go after a UTSA, maybe you add a couple of teams, their basketball teams, and trying to bolster your basketball that way as well and improve the brand overall. I mean, the American could be the one here reeling if you have the Mountain West holding firm, because if the Mountain West holds firm and the membership decides we're better off together in this configuration, and then the Sun Belt can convince its members, hey, look, we're better off in this configuration right here, then the next logical step is maybe the Mountain West starts to add a couple of teams, raid the American. Maybe the Sun Belt tries to figure out a way to strengthen its league. And where does Marshall fit in all this? If you're Marshall, do you want to go into a situation where the American either is going to be the strongest and there's really not a public indication yet that maybe Marshall's on the menu? And it's not anything against Marshall. You just see what has come out. Maybe the game plan is we're going out west, so we're going to raid the Mountain West. And so Marshall could possibly be an addition to the Sun Belt. You take Marshall, maybe you take Southern Miss. Take them and you strengthen the Sun Belt. Marshall gets into a league which I think might be better geographically. What's the American to do? I mean, nobody knows. Text line is open. I'm going to find out what you think should happen. It's not that we don't know what's going to happen. It's just that there's so many variables right now. Nothing has come out that says, okay, this is a team that is lobbying to get in, or this is the team that the league wants. Text line is 304-523-2275. 304-523-2275. We will talk more about this when we continue with today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Presented by Huntington Federal Savings Bank.
Our phone lines this hour, which are not working, are brought to you by White Claw at 877-420-TALK, 877-420-8255. White Claw hard seltzer made pure. Text line does work. 304-523-2275. That's 304-523-2275. Texter writes, take all of the group of five and make one big conference. The two best teams come out of that conference to play in the college football playoff. I'd hate to be a schedule maker in that thing, though. Could you imagine? Just, you'd have to just do divisions. You would have to have like a East division, a Midwest division, maybe a West Coast division. You'd have to do divisions there. I don't know. Could you have like maybe I don't know how you would do that. I like the idea, but I don't know how you do that. Just have a super conference. You want 16? You want 16 SEC? Oh, we got 32. What are you going to do now? We have 32 teams. And the television package, yeah, everybody will get like 1 million. Because I don't know. I don't know if you combine that 30. I mean, it'd be a lot of inventory. I just don't know who's paying for all that inventory. I mean, I like the idea. I really do. I'm trying to work it out how you make that schedule work. Because I'm trying to figure out worst case scenario here. I'm trying to work it out here with Marshall. Let's just say it's Marshall Middle. It's Charlotte. It's Western Kentucky. It's Old Dominion. It's FAU and FIU. So right now I'm looking at 7 teams. Does Southern Miss, yeah, we're in with you guys. Okay, that's 8. Let's get 10 now. All right, can we poach from conferences not named Conference USA? No. Okay. What's Liberty doing? Well, they want in. All right, write the check. We'll see you. Get Liberty in. James Madison, you've been talking. We see you on social. You've been talking. We see your media. You guys have been talking a lot. All right, come on over. Come on. I'd be okay with that. If you're going to elevate an FCS team, I would be okay with James Madison. There's a little history there. again, older Herd fans would be down with that. I would think. Maybe not. I don't know. What's the consciousness of Herd Nation say? Yes, no, maybe. Text line 304-523-2275 to be a part of it. Again, I'm sitting there thinking, how do you all? I mean, we're talking all of the group of 5 teams, and just put them in one. I mean, you have to have division. Would you have to have like a playoff? Would you have to have like a G5 conference playoff to get to the championship game? Would be a championship tournament? Would you have to do that? Of all the teams, list of, I'm going to Google this. List of all because I don't want to have to go. List of all G5 teams. I'm going to Google this because I don't want to have to go to 4 or 5 different conference tabs. Okay. All right. You know what? Thank you, Wikipedia. I appreciate you, Wikipedia. This puts it all in one place for me, and I don't have to look it all up and that 4 or 5 tabs here. Okay. All right. So let's just scratch right now out of the American, Cincinnati. Scratch them. Let us scratch UCF, and let us scratch Houston. So you would have, okay, first of all, let's be realistic. The MAC's not doing this. MAC's not joining anything. It's the MAC, and it stays the MAC. Don't need no alliance. Well, okay, alliance is taken. We don't need no football federation. We don't need no super conference here. So, again, I think the Sun Belt's going to be either the big winner or the second big winner here. Because, or does the Mountain West raid the Sun Belt and say, okay, we're going to take Louisiana. So the Mountain West, could the Mountain West take Louisiana? Take Louisiana. Would you take Arkansas State? Would you take a look at Conference USA and say UTSA and North Texas? So maybe the Sun Belt and Conference USA lose a couple of teams both. And then is it a situation where Conference USA and the Sun Belt are either trying to poach each league, or will the leagues get together and say, look, let's just redo this, talk to all the membership, or one league is just going to have to destroy the other? They could either cohabitate college football, they could cooperate, or one league is going to have to choose violence. And right now, I don't see the Sun Belt worrying about Conference USA poaching. I don't see that happening. Is Appalachian State going to go, yeah, we want to go to the Conference USA? Or is it going to be more along the lines of, hey, let's grab Marshall. Sun Belt grabs Marshall. Okay. Western Kentucky, you're stuck. Middle, you're stuck. You defected. You left the Sun Belt. They're probably still not happy about that. Like, okay, you guys are stuck. Maybe Marshall, maybe Southern Miss, maybe FAU. If you're looking for more Eastern-centric teams, if you're looking for Western teams, what's left that makes sense? I mean, Southern Miss can go either way, East or West. So you take Marshall, Southern Miss, maybe FAU. I mean, do you grab a Charlotte? Would Charlotte make that move? I mean, Charlotte probably is looking upward at the American more so, and maybe would think Sun Belt's not the place. But again, this is all dependent on what happens with the American. does the American go westward and grab teams from the Mountain West, and does the Mountain West come out and say, okay, we're gonna bolster what we have, and we like Louisiana, we like North Texas, we like Southern Miss, or we like UTSA. One thing is certain, UAB is gone from this league. Someone is going to get the bright idea to call them up. If it's not the American, maybe the Mountain West says, oh, okay, you didn't get UAB, we want them. We got to hit the break, come back, and we will wrap it up. I've got time for your text. You can join us on the text line. It's 304-523-2275. Text line 304-523-2275. We'll wrap it up when we continue with today's edition of The Drive.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Presented by Huntington Federal Savings Bank.
We're wrapping up today's edition of The Drive. Texter writes, all the speculation still comes down the money. Had a class with David Steele, who is financial manager for athletics. He showed how much money schools in the AAC spend, and Marshall cannot compete. Our budget was $29 million, and AAC average was $50 million. We would just not be competitive. So the texter saying that the financial incentive with maybe increased revenue from the league still probably not enough to offset what it's going to cost to compete in that league. So if it comes down to financial obligations, do you stay in Conference USA, try to dominate Conference USA, or do you put yourself in a position to maybe make a move to the Sun Belt in hopes that the Sun Belt will elevate you for an eventual maybe hop up? Because there are going to be more teams that it's going to be a call up. There are going to be some FCS teams that are going to get the call. And my fear is that maybe Conference USA, if the league gets depleted, that's where the call-ups are going to be. And that's not to say there's not good football being played. It's just how much of a financial obligation will those universities be able to commit to try to elevate Conference USA. And Marshall, moving up years ago, had the financial commitment, had the ability to make the jump to the Mid-American Conference. I know, again, not a popular thought here, but I liked Marshall in the MAC. I like the geographic nature of, the geography. I like the geography. That's it for the day. Coming up later on, we got Huntington High football. Looking forward to that. And you can catch that on our website as well. Have a great night, everyone.